Hi guys, Garage LC here, back with another video. So today's video is about the GLR GT. So I got this set a little while back and I built it over Christmas. It's by GL Racing, rear wheel drive, basically racer. This is a stock setup at the moment as it comes out of the box, no extras. This has a 3,500 kV motor on, and it's a censored one, but I haven't got the censored speed control to go with it yet. I will be switching that over soon. Part of it is a bigger upgrade. The reason I've got a censored 3,500 kV motor installed is because I did have a sensorless 9,000 kV motor, which was way too fast for this car. It would make it uncontrollable. So I had to, they recommended with the gearing a 3,500, so that's what I put in. Well, that's where I'm starting from now, and it's much more controllable. So the build itself was very easy. The car itself is really beautifully put together. GL Racing do some great cars. I mean, I've got the newer version of the GLD they do, and again, it's now a beautiful kit. No parts issues at all. GLA, I've always loved the build on that car. So GL Racing do good quality stuff, and this is a good quality racer. It's a similar design, you could say, to sort of the Mini Z rear-wheel drive Evo cars, where you have the rear pod, except this goes one stage further and it has 3 layers of shocks and separate arms to control the rear pod, as well as having this central shock absorber like the Mini Z does. So you get a lot of nice movement there. It's a very light, free-flowing car. The battery compartment's got nice little battery holders to hold it in. There's a nice little touch with these little ports here to clip your zip ties through. The speed control is the standard GL Racing speed control I've got on this setup, and the servo is also the standard servo that comes with this car. I've unstuck the receiver just so I can move this side to side and show you the details of how it's built and set up. I'll try and keep this in shot. So the build didn't take that long, and the instructions were very clear, and it gives you a nice little tips for initial setup on how the car should be set up in the instruction manual. So I have actually run this car, and I haven't got footage of it running. I lost it, but I will be doing some more footage shortly that I may or may not include in this video. So what were my initial thoughts of the car? Well, let's do a few comparisons first before I get into that. So just some more angles that you can see, better angles of the car, steering mechanism there. Got a servo saver built in, you can see that, the spring. It's a very flat car, you can see, very low profile. So let's do a weigh-in first, just to give you an idea of the weight of this car. Let's try that again. So without the battery, weighs in at 95 grams, that's very light. This is its all-wheel drive brother, without the battery, 117 grams. So in comparison to the Mini Z Evo, which has the, this is the obviously have an alloy rear pod there, makes it a little bit heavier, but that's 104 grams. So you can see there's a difference between the Evo and the GLR GT, which in this small scale is noticeable. Now let's remember the batteries that are going to go in the Mini Z are a lot heavier as well. So that does make a difference overall to the power to weight ratio. So my thoughts on the car so far, having driven it, it suffers with something that I can describe and a lot of you might be familiar with. The handling I can see is the potential to be amazing. What lets it down is this servo. So the first thing I will upgrade is this servo to the titanium one that you can get for the GLD with a titanium aluminium arm instead of the plastic one. I think that will greatly improve the steering. So the problem I'm having at the moment is when it steers, it almost oversteers in the other direction. So you're trying to course correct yourself on a straight and it'll almost go too far. It's too sensitive. And I've tried turning all the settings down on the transmitter. I've played around with the sensitivity, all the parameters on the actual transmitter that will help control that. But I can't help but feel this is the same problem I had with my GLA previously, and by changing to the better servo it solved it. So I've made sure all the parts are running freely, but I think this is down to this servo, which is not my favorite servo for overall. I just find it's very cute looking, but it doesn't seem to have the power to keep the car in a straight line effortlessly. Now others might find different, but that's just what I've found so far. So the first upgrade I'm going to make is I'm going to change the servo. I'm also going to install a alloy pinion at the back. I'm also going to install better shocks. I don't like the shocks on this setup, so this is the adjustable screw shock set for the GLR GT with the metal pins. And the reason being, I don't like these front shocks. They're a bit of a bind to set up. I don't like the adjustability on them. I prefer to have these screw shocks, which give you more control and finesse over how you're going to set that up. So I'm changing that as well. And I'm also going to install the anti-roll bar. So this is a wide anti-roll bar, and then I will do a run on a big open track, and we'll see how this compares to its brother here, the GLA, and also to the Mini Z Evo and any of the cars that I've got to hand on the day. So that's my plan, guys. So guys, this was originally going to be a two-part video, but I ended up upgrading the servo on the GLR GT with the titanium version. So I thought, now that I've run it with the better servo, so I haven't put the other mods on that I mentioned earlier on in the video, I just changed the servo, that's all I did. So I'm running it with this Mercedes GT shell, which has the same wheels that come with the shell on the GLR GT. This is a great advantage because you can run the Mini Z shells with the wheels that come with them, which look nice and have the correct offset, and I can report the GLR GT is set up to work with these wheels really well. So you can see I've got the front end reinforced with hot glue. That's just because this shell has been bashed a few times and it does tend to crack if you're not careful, so that's been reinforced. The light fittings are coincidental, they're just on there from a previous setup I had for when it was a rear wheel drift car, and they're double lights front and rear, which look pretty cool. Okay, so let's just go through the spec of how the car was run. So you can see here now I've got the titanium gear Geo Racing GL0820TG, and this is a brilliant servo for this car. It's also the same one I use on my GLD, the Geo Racing Drift rear-wheel drive drift car. It's low profile, and I can report this changes everything. With this servo, I absolutely love this car. Otherwise, the setup is as standard out of the box. So this is the setup they advise, and I have set it up with those settings exactly, so I've not altered anything else. The motor that we ran was the 3500 kV motor, although I've just changed it to a 5500 kV motor today, but that's how it was ran on the track on the day. So this is after I'd done the run and got an appreciation for how good this car really is. The tyres I'm using, the rear tyres are the Kyosho Sure 40 treaded tyres. The front tyres are new tyres I'm trying out, and these are the DS Racing, as you can see, 4DR medium, and these are slicks. So not how cars normally are run, and the reason being is I'd run out of the Kyosho treaded front tyres. The ones I had were too grippy and was causing both this and the Mini Z Evo that was run on the day to flip. So by putting these front tyres on, I got the perfect balance. I actually found it ran in a straight line beautifully, turned beautifully without flipping or catching or causing the car to sort of bite too easily. And as you'll see in some of the footage I've got there, the straight line braking was absolutely spectacular. You could hit the brakes on this car, you could hear the braking, and the car would still stay true, to the point where I could almost skid it around the corner if I wanted to. So if I braked on the straight, it would slow down exactly on point. If I braked on the corner, then okay, if you're turning and you brake, then you'd get more of almost a slide effect, but it was controllable, very controllable. Very precise handling on this car, and this is just still standard spec apart from the servo. So I know Mini Z Up has got a video about setting up his GLR at the moment. That's a good video to check out, and I'm going to be taking tips from that to improve the setup on my car. So I've got a Geo Racing 360 mAh battery running in this. Again, I've unglued the servo just so you can see. I did have a lap sensor put on so we can see what speeds it managed around the track. So first off, I can report this thing is super fast. Even with a 3500 kV motor, it was completely outpacing the Mini Z Evo. Now, granted, there's a weight difference there. The Mini Z Evo is heavier. Even on the big track, if you can drive a Mini Z Evo well, and the person driving this car isn't the best, the Evo can match it. It's not completely outclassed, but with me trying both cars, I was able to do sort of a half a second to a second faster lap with the GLR GT. So there's no doubt this is a race car through and through. It's a thoroughbred, and I was very impressed with it. And honestly, I can't see how I could improve the handling any more on the day. Just as you can see it when it's going around the track, I was very excited by driving this car. It just floats and flows so well. It's so light, and there is actually, you can see even with the motor on, it just, you know, rolls so smoothly. The steering was very precise. Apart from the fact that I was switching between cars, I was using my GLA as well. That was the only thing that was throwing me off, and obviously the Mini Z rear-wheel drive Evos that I was running on the day. But otherwise, I can report this car is, yeah, beautiful, absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to try it with the faster motor. So interestingly enough, on the day, the car that was the fastest was actually my GLA, which I have here. And this I was running with, I think, a 5,500 kV motor. I'll include some footage of it doing a lap. It was an absolute beast, and it did actually record the fastest lap. So this car, I've never really had the chance to run it on a open track like I did. That's the first time. So the straight on that track is, I think it was 60 foot, 70 foot. So we've had a really good long straight to run them on. So it's a club sized track, and I'm looking to set up a club locally so people can come and race and actually get to try out different cars. I'll bring some cars along. This is all stuff I'm trying to do when I get time. Just, I've got so much going on with my main business that this has had to take a sidestep for a little while. So this GLA, I think I've shown in previous videos, is my sort of the car that I've put everything on, and it's got the wider base plate with the batteries set further back, and the upgraded titanium servo. Sorry, again, you can see, yeah, it's pretty free. Everything on this car that I've set up worked superbly well, considering I hadn't actually run it on a big track, only my small track in the garage. I'd actually set it up pretty well. I was pretty impressed, and I don't think there's much I'd want to change. I've got red springs on the front, and you can see the suspension's fairly soft there. I've got the double jointed drive shafts on this fella, so yeah, this thing is, I don't think there's any option I haven't got. I think maybe the center diff could do with the center drive shaft adapter for the spur gear could be alloy. But apart from that, everything on this car, sorry, I'm out of focus there, is pretty brilliant. But this video is more about the GLR GT. So yes, this did record the fastest lap. It was super fast, but I'm still new to this GLR GT. So my opinion of this car is this is absolutely spectacular. I think if you're going to be running this realistically, you want to be running it against other cars of a similar sort of spec. So maybe, you know, other pan racing design cars that don't use AAAs. But, you know, we shall see. The Mini Z Evo, I'm going to do some mods to that, see if I can get that converted over to something similar so that we can do some comparisons of that chassis. But so far, guys, I am loving the GLR GT. This is an absolute fabulous car. So if you're thinking of getting a race car and you're not sure which one to get, from so far, if it's a rear-wheel drive race car, this is absolutely beautiful. So guys, that's all for this time. I'll leave you some footage of these cars running around the track. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys all next time. So this is a bit coming up now where you can see that I'm using the braking on the car and the car almost turns sideways, but it's very controllable, as you can see right here. Absolutely amazing.